We all know that real estate has created more millionaires than any other industry on the planet. We also know that it has created a lot of heartache due to mismanagement, overborrowing, and just simple life events that happen to all of us. Welcome to the CashFlowPro podcast. My name is Casey Brown, and I am your fearless leader. And although we might be bourbon sipping and at times foul-mouthed Southerners, we will always do our best to be honest, straightforward, and due diligent with all of the information we pass along to you. Welcome to the show. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode of CashFlowPro, your daily real estate investing podcast and YouTube channel. I'm here today with Samuel Weiner of Langdon Title. Samuel, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, man, you know, like my stepdad always said, the wife hadn't left and the kids aren't in jail, so life's good. Do you know what I mean?
Fair enough. I like that statement.
Yeah, it's kind of the silver lining in life is when those two things are both the way you want them. So, so listen, so we were chatting a little bit prior to the show, and we were talking about, one of the things is title insurance or title companies or title anything is tends to be kind of a, I don't know, like a very, very dry subject, I guess, for unless you're like just into it and you're like, man, I did this badass title search yesterday, and of course I gotta think that being in New York and in that area and you do kind of see some names and some things and some transactions that otherwise might just kind of go on down the pipeline. But so why don't you kind of start off and tell us a little bit about you, who you are, who Langdon Title is, and then let's take it from there.
Perfect. I appreciate you obviously taking the time. I like starting off really how I got into title insurance, because kind of to add on to what you said, it's like how do you even get into the title insurance business, right? So
yeah. I mean, you don't just answer your aunt Judy's questions and she says, hey, so what have you decided to major in? You're like, title insurance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So to kind of add on to that, I'm born and raised in New York. I'm from a town called Roslyn, New York, which is on Long Island. From there, I attended Indiana University. I was a direct admit to the Kelley School of Business. So I had a finance/business oriented mindset going into college. I dual majored in business management and international business. Upon graduation, I moved to Manhattan, where I briefly worked for a staffing and recruitment firm, doing business development for them. Did a little headhunting, but it was more sales and business development focused and oriented. And right away, pretty much, one of my closest family friends is a very large owner, operator, syndicator for multifamily, affordable housing, Section 8 housing within the New York City area. And he came to me and said, hey, Sam, I purchased 2 large new affordable housing units. I need 2 property managers, not units, buildings, I should say. Many, many units, we could say. I need 2 property managers for the buildings. Can you guys assist us in the recruitment? No problem. I signed his firm up with my old recruitment company. I actually did the headhunting myself. We found him as 2 property managers. He signed them on. My firm gets paid. Everybody's happy, right?
Sure.
So
win-win-win.
It was a win-win across the board. About a month later, I was at my family friend's house in the Hamptons. It was like summertime because it was like a couple months after college, a couple months after I started my job. Sure. And he brought me aside and he's like, between us, how much did you make on these deals? And like I said, I have a base salary. Like I probably made, I don't know, let's say a few grand commission. It was just a random number. And he turned pale. And I'm talking like a very successful guy turning pale. I was like, what's wrong? He's like, you're telling me I paid your firm X for you to only make X? You're leaving and moving into real estate. And I was like, interesting. I mean, listen, I'm happy in my job. I'm not tied to it whatsoever, but I'm always open for new opportunities if you make the proper introductions. And, he said to me, you're probably best with your sales, interpersonal communication skills, which is a great statement he made because I think it's the honest truth. So he introduced me or just gave me a couple tips in terms of, brokerage, investment sales, leasing, XYZ. And then he was like, how about title insurance? And as you can imagine, I answered, what the F is title insurance? So,
yeah.
So long story short, he had an existing relationship with his title guy for about 20 to 30 years. We're all from the same area, so we ended up all going out for dinner shortly after he introduced me, and I've been with him ever since. So that's my
And I'll be honest, man. In my marketing mind, and coming from the single family residential sales
sure,
side of things, the closing attorney always makes a very, very, very soft pitch for the person that's signing the documents to check the yes box on the fact that they want title insurance, right? So
sure,
again, I know we're talking larger commercial deals and deals you can actually move the needle on. So I don't necessarily mean, but I guess, and I had like this canned response when people would say, because you got to think everybody, like the first thing people get confused about is inspections, right? Because they're like, okay, why is, like, let's say a VA loan or an FHA loan.
sure,
Why are VA and FHA? They're going to inspect my property, so I don't need to. Well, then you have to explain, hey, the inspection that you get is more thorough than the one that the VA is looking out for them. You need to get the inspection that looks out for you. And then the second thing that people get confused about is title insurance. And what is title insurance? Why do I
sure,
need title insurance? And I
sure,
had these canned responses that say, basically, the attorney will tell you if they think you need your title insured. And there can always be an argument made. There can be just almost a legitimate argument made on almost all properties as to whether or not, at least in the state of Kentucky, as to whether or not they need the fact that they would need title insurance, because you've got all kinds of old land leases, and you've got all kinds of old mineral right sales, and so many other different things that come along with it. And I guess I just want to like have an idea, what is your risk, like, and explaining, when I explain it to people, I always just am like, okay, hey, yeah, the attorney's going to do a title opinion, and then let them tell you whether or not that title needs to be insured because there was some event that's showing up, like a foreclosure, for instance, or
correct.
a foreclosure slash bankruptcy that clouds the title, or could potentially have the effect of clouding the title at a later day. So I guess just give me your brief explanation, and then we'll move forward from there.
Yeah. So first, I do want to state that, as you mentioned, in Kentucky, title insurance does differentiate per state. So there is different rules and regulations per state. As said, my firm is a New York City-based title insurance agent. We're fully
Okay.
licensed within New York, New Jersey, and we're currently in the process of Florida and Pennsylvania. So those are more of where I'll have more in-depth knowledge about
Mm-hmm.
what the current regulations are, especially on the residential stuff. Because it's like I haven't seen a Kentucky residential deal,
Mm-hmm.
and I would only expect, unless now, because we have a strong relationship, me and you. Other than that, I probably won't be receiving too many Kentucky residential
Sure.
deals.
Sure.
So, just wanted to clear that up before. Just to like give like a basic overview of what title insurance is, just before I kind of go into the nitty gritty of what you kind of said. It's a way to protect yourself from financial loss and legal expenses in the effect that there is a defect in your title, that the property is covered by the policy. So to kind of put it into simpler words for you and for the listeners here, we protect our borrowers from past events like you named, foreclosures, X, Y, Z, making sure that all issues on prior ownership and events are resolved by the completion of closing. You only have to purchase this title insurance once, and this gives you your valid policy for the entire ownership of the property. Essentially, I'm saying, like, let's say you're buying a home, right? What happens if somebody, just God forbid, somebody knocks on your door and say, "This is my home. Get out." Like, at the end of the day, you're going to be like, no, this is my home. But what really proves that you have the proper documentation and ownership of this property? And that's exactly where we come in, giving you
Well, because
this.
it's chain of ownership. I mean, it's
Correct.
basically whoever's document was recorded at the courthouse first has say so. And I'll tell you what one thing that we run into in Kentucky a lot. And again, listeners, this is not legal advice. Anything you hear, please
Correct.
double check with your attorney.
Yeah, and
Make
I'm not
sure
an
that
attorney, by the way.
yeah,
My two principals in in-house counsel are also our in-house counsel. We also have another team of in-house counsel as well. I run our sales and business development initiative, so I work mostly on the transactional side. But so I'm not an attorney, so no
sure,
attorney advice
sure,
from me
sure.
either. But we have a
Um,
strong team that of attorneys that can handle really any situation as well.
there's a there's a theory, I guess, if you will, I guess it's what it is, but it's called dower rights.
Mm-hmm.
And dower rights, Kentucky is what's called a dower state. Basically, dower state means one. So you, for instance, you have a married. Well, not for instance. It's specifically referring to married couples. It takes one to buy. Like I could go buy anything in the state of Kentucky that I want by myself. I don't need my wife's signature as long as I stand good for the loan and I stand good for whatever. The thing can be bought and put into my name and my name only.
Sure.
But if I go to sell you, Sam, that property, she has to then sign as well as myself, because the theory is she could come back and God forbid we divorce, whatever happens, she could come back in 10 years and say, I did not give him permission to sell that property and
Sure.
I want my half. And where that becomes an issue a lot of times for us as people that are oftentimes transacting is if for some reason you wouldn't believe how many people out there have an estranged spouse, a spouse they haven't talked to in 20 years. I'm
Sure.
like, do these people just like look my name up in the phone book? Am I special? Because it happens more often than you could imagine. And the other part of it is let's say somebody is legally divorced or thinks they're legally divorced, and they say, hey, I'm signing this deed as a single individual, but then come to find out maybe I had a guy that works for me. His paperwork wasn't filed correctly at the courthouse, and he was married 3 years longer than he thought he was. And it was just a simple technical clerical error. And so that's the kind of stuff that, do you all cover all of that kind of stuff? Now, obviously, you're not dealing in residential, so you're dealing in probably LLCs and people signing that have legal authority based on operating agreements and so on. So
Sure.
give me a everyday scenario that you all protect against.
Yeah. So we offer both an owner's policy, which is the purchasers of real property, and a lender's policy, which is for more refinances in the lenders, aka the banks, etc. Your lender, if you're taking out a loan, like because you mentioned loans there, your lender is going to require a lender's policy to really cover the mortgage amount. Since the property's their collateral, they're going to make sure that you're covered in the case that the property was sold fraudulently or some other issue arises, right? That's kind of where we're coming in on the lender's policy size. Even if you're paying cash, like most attorneys won't work on your transaction without title insurance because their job is to minimize the risk and feel that waiving the title insurance can expose you to so many different issues. It's really like most of the things you named, we do insure. I don't want to get into too specifics because,
Well, yeah,
but
and that
it's really like we're just making sure that there's no liens, defects, burdens, obligations that could affect the subject property and kind of clearing it for the transfership of ownership. If that's like, and there's more logistics in between it, but that's kind of the basic way to answer that question. I hope I kind of went to basic.
yeah, and that's because I guess the problem that I've always had, and this is the typical canned attorney response at the closing.
Sure.
And I've never been in a closing where an attorney pushed title insurance because I feel like if the attorney pushed the title policy, the client that's signing would automatically feel like maybe the attorney wasn't doing their job.
Correct.
or didn't do their job correct or didn't something. So they're saying, now you want me to pay for title insurance after I just got done paying you $400
Mhm.
to do a title opinion?
Yeah. You know,
And so,
we always recommend our borrower slash purchasee to choose their own title insurance. That's kind of my job at the firm, is to, and hence we're on this call, is to, inform the general public about title insurance, and that
but that's what I'm saying. People
it's a
don't
very
know. They
niche.
don't have they don't even know what it is.
That's my job. So it's a very niche sector of real estate, but it's pretty much 99% of all purchases and refinances. So, that's my job, is to inform the public that they're going to be getting title insurance, and that they have the right to choose their own title firm. But as you said, unless you're really in commercial real estate, or you're purchasing, like yourself, multiple units and properties, like, you're not going to know what title insurance is. And like, your attorney's then going to just have you sign a form saying, "Hey, can we use this title firm?" And you're going to say, "Yeah," because what do you know? So
Well, yeah, and we're gonna always take it when there's investor money there. We are gonna shop it a little bit just to
right.
see what's out there.
I
But
mean, so title
generally,
insurance fees, I don't know if you know, title insurance fees are pretty fixed in terms of like the premium. The premium is fixed based off of the purchase price and loan amount. So all title firms will and should legally charge you the same price. There are ancillary fees, but so that's kind of what you're shopping. But in terms of
that's
like
right.
the actual title insurance, there's not really much shopping compared to other sectors of real estate.
Yeah. It's not like you're looking for the best deal because ultimately, at the end of the day, title title insurance companies almost to a degree they solidify everything that has to do with title theory, because honestly, if we didn't have title theory, we wouldn't have property ownership. If we didn't have title theory, so it's almost like here's title theory, and the government or the state saying you have to go through title theory in order to show ownership of this property. And then the government's like, okay, along with this, we will allow you to take an optional insurance because this is so it holds it all together in a
Correct.
way, and it gives people an option to make it their fault if something screwed up with the theory part of it. Well, you checked the no box. Now, the other part of this that I think there's a lot of people out there that don't understand, Sam, and I'm gonna throw this out there because I feel I was, and I hate to say it, I was a few years into the real estate business before I even realized what I'm getting ready to talk about. And it's the fact that when I go over here and I go to my attorney and I say, "Hey, Mr. Attorney, I'm buying 123 Main Street
Sure.
and I want you to handle the closing. I've got the funds lined up. I'll have the bank contact you to send your title work," right? That attorney is only doing an opinion on the
Correct.
last 30 years of ownership of
Yeah,
that
we
property.
we go through the past 100, 200 years of ownership. We'll take lead. We'll issue a title policy, and then the attorney's job is to review it on your behalf to make sure everything is.
Correct. So again, what I'm getting at here for somebody that's maybe not been involved in these transactions is that's why the title insurance is being offered at closing, because the attorney's saying, "Hey, if something happened 31 years ago that clouds the title, and somebody could potentially show up at your door and say, 'Hey, John, I own this house.' No, you don't. I had a title opinion done." Well, that title opinion only covered the last 30 years, and I still own this house from 31 years ago.
Doesn't we go through entire ownership of the property from land all the way through.
See, and that's what's so, and that's why title insurance is so important.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a piece of the puzzle that I think people must understand. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this podcast with you, because I'm hoping that if we can get out and reach people and say, "Hey, this is why this is important when it comes to real estate, you need to know these things."
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about what you all have going on right now. I want to hear actually, no, I want to hear like a story.
Yeah, I always get that on these podcasts. I always ask, like, what the amazing thing is? I've been in the industry for about 3 years now. So I wouldn't say I'm new, but I wouldn't say I'm too experienced. What the
Sure.
amazing thing is, and I give kudos to my title firm that I'm with, Langdon, is we haven't had any crazy stories about anything. There's been certain situations where we're very close to closing and like something popped up, maybe like more of like an encroachment where like, your fence is 5 yards onto my property. It's like those are more of like the nitty gritty stuff that's going to pop up more in in a title search rather than big crazy stories that you're looking to hear. So I don't really
Yep.
have any of those, and I should make one. I'm not even make one up. Just like dig in like the past and see if I have one. But
That's all right. Just be
yeah.
like, hey, yeah, that's pretty cool, man. So
It would make me sound so much cooler, right? But
that's
no,
right. That's right. It would make it much more. It would make it much more
yeah, exactly.
enjoyable
So I don't have
topic.
any
I always
exciting.
wanted, you always want to hear about the crazy stories about some guy. Somebody thought that some people thought some guy was dead, and he showed back up, and he's like, "No, I own this house. No, I own this house." That's what we always want to hear. But so how is business right now with the current climate? I mean,
Yep.
obviously you've probably got a string of closings that are coming from the low interest rate period, and
Yep.
as of
So
recording, end of September ish.
exactly. So that's kind of what I was going to go into. We were very busy when the low interest rates the past 2 years, especially COVID on. A lot of closings, a lot of refinances. So we were very, very busy to that nature, which leads on to closings in the past couple of months into now. Like you said, so you said that you hit on the dot there. Now we're a little slower. It was a slow summer. A lot of real estate guys also take their time over the summer, and especially the high interest rates and the inflation and everything occurring right now. We've definitely seen a decrease in terms of transactions, but luckily, recently, we've seen things heading in more of an upward trend. So we think people are still transacting, and things are definitely gonna, keep going to where they were. And that's my job, is to stay on top of owners, operators, lenders, uh, attorneys, like everybody to the real estate transactional nature, and just not even like asking like, hey, do you have any current deals that we could assist you on the title end on? But it's more of, where can we assist each other in the next couple months in ensuring that when things head to more of a normal market based off of the past, how could we be able to generate business for one another and assist each other in that nature? So that's
Sure.
kind of where we stand. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so. And a question just popped in my head
Sure.
that I'm very very curious about, and so when you, like, let's say you, for instance, somebody calls you about a title policy on apartment C, or condo C of some building on town square or something. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Sure.
Hi, this is Casey Brown, host of the CashFlowPro podcast and YouTube channel. Have you been thinking about investing in real estate but just don't know where to begin? I'd like to help by inviting you to check out our website at www.3000capital.com. There you will find an array of material that will help you learn all about real estate syndication. And while you're there, be sure to check out our free video series download titled 5 Must-Know Keys to Success in Passive Real Estate Investing. I'd also like to personally thank you for making CashFlowPro part of your day. Now, back to the show.
And you say, okay, yeah, we issued the attorney does the title opinion. Is that title tied directly to the dirt at the bottom, or is that title titled directly to that specific unit? I've always been curious about that, and I thought maybe you might know, being as you're in New York and
Yeah. So we do condos. Co-ops are a little different. We do more lien searches because you have ownership in the entire building for
yeah,
co-ops. Condos, you have the individual property.
yeah,
they're not. It's not really the dirt, but more of the actual entire uh, square footage, or like ownership of the entire property. So that's just a little different. Like co-ops and condos are very different. And then from single family homes and all, it's from the actual dirt, like the actual land that you are buying. So
gotcha.
yeah.
Okay, all right, well, good deal. Well, is there anything else you'd like to leave us with? Any other pieces of advice when people are buying or looking to buy, and then they get to that attorney's desk, and that attorney wants them to check the yes box or the no box? Tell us a
You
little
know, I
bit.
mean, so that's the thing, is the owner, buyer, purchasee, are the ultimate one paying for title insurance and getting title insurance. So you
Hmm.
should look further into the process. Like all the different, like you said, inspections, like everything, like you're choosing your broker pretty much. So you want to choose your title firm. So do some knowledge, educate yourself within the title world. Obviously we'd love to assist you, but, find a good title company that has a strong track record, and, always ask your attorney's advice, see if they've used the title firm in the past, so they could, you could obviously a good experience. And then, if anybody listening has any questions, of course, Casey will share my contact information. I'd love to, of course, work with you, but, just discuss the title world in any ways that we could benefit one another, and kind of everything to that nature,
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, Sam, we have a couple questions we ask every guest that comes on the show.
Sure.
And the first question is, what is the best book that you have recently read or are currently reading?
Not currently reading. Not really much a reader, which is a terrible quality, by the way.
All right, well,
you know what I do? I'm more of I wish I had an answer for that, because I'm not much of a reader. I do subscribe to a lot of newsletters that come directly to my email. So I like to skim just to see the highlights of the news, whether it's national commercial real estate, New York commercial real estate, or just anything regarding anything, finance, politics, anything to any nature. So that's what I'd highly suggest. I don't have any specific ones, but I have like 10 that come in, and I just kind of skim through them in the morning just to educate myself on what's going on in the world rather than just my firm. So
sure, I got you. All right. Well, maybe this one will be a little easier. What is a dream vacation that you have taken or hope to take?
I studied abroad in Barcelona, Spain. So in terms of vacation, I traveled all around Europe for 6 months with some of my best friends. So,
sweet.
So I went all throughout Europe. I don't have a specific place, but I mean, maybe Barcelona is my favorite. I highly suggest Barcelona, Spain.
Sure. Sure. I'm a big Europer too. I love Europe. I think
Europe's great. So I had a great experience doing that. And then dream vacation is either Asia or Australia. Those are two places. Those are two places I'd like to go to eventually.
You're dang right, man. Australia would be so unreal. Just like the outback, like the bush or whatever they call it in Africa,
Yeah, so, my brother actually lived in Sydney, Australia for a little bit. I wasn't able to make it because his trip got cut short because of COVID. So so
C word. Yep. All right. Well, listen, how can the listeners reach out and get in touch with you all? And we'll obviously put all of your contact stuff in the show notes, but how can the listeners, if they heard something that resonated with them, how can they reach out and get in touch with you?
I give out my cell phone, easy to contact there. Email. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I have a personal social media page. I should make title insurance, but I would say, LinkedIn, email, phone, easiest ways.
Awesome, man. Good deal. Thank you so much, Sam, for your time today. We really do appreciate it. And listeners, as always, please head down and smash that subscribe button. And while you're there, please leave us a review so that others may know what you enjoyed about the CashFlowPro podcast. And Sam, again, thank you so much for your time. Listeners, thank you for your time. I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you, guys.
CashFlowPro is hosted by Casey Brown, founder and CEO of 3000 Capital, a commercial real estate investment firm committed to providing its investors with ongoing cash flow and helping them build long-term wealth. If you enjoyed today's podcast, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll be notified about all our future episodes. You can find more information about us and our investment philosophy by clicking the link in the show notes below. Thanks for listening.